Hey, listeners. My name is Elisha, the founder of the Witnesses podcast. It's so beautiful to have you listening to our podcast. And I want you to know something that means a whole lot to me. Thank you for tuning in. And one thing I love to tell all of our listeners is it's not just about you listening, but listening to understand. Understanding is the most important thing. So important. So, you have to listen, learn, and practice. Thank you so very much and happy listening.
Hi, Mark. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. Oftentimes, I love to talk about the essence of this show, which is to invite amazing guests, amazing guests like Mark to come talk to us about their triumphant stories. Because we believe that in our audience, there might be some people who are stuck up in a situation that Mark came out of triumphant. So by those people getting to listen to you speak, they might actually pick some information from your words, the ones you'll be saying here today, that might lead to their transformation. So the essence is all about transforming lives. The ones who are going to be listening in the audience, transforming their lives. Okay, Mark, within the next few minutes, let us get started with your story, the challenges that you faced, and how you overcame them. And afterwards, I've got some really beautiful questions for you. Okay, Mark, over to you.
Yeah, this is a very broad question. I always like to start with, how I was brought up, how I was raised, and it was I had and I still have an amazing family, and I was raised with two amazing parents, and I still have my dad, and I love spending time with him. And my mother, left us a couple years ago, but we had 69 great years of her on this planet. So we are grateful for that. And twin brother, older sister, and loving household. And I remember growing up and just feeling a little bit different all the time, and feeling I don't know if out of place is the right way to phrase it, but always feeling like I was kind of stuck in my own head, stuck in my own world, and wondering what these feelings were about, and if these were just me, if I was going through the same thing that everybody else went through, if I just needed to quote unquote, man up, push through it, get through it. All the things we hear as young men growing up in this world, and that's what I did. I'll be honest with you. That's what I did for most of my teenage years, a lot of my college years, where I had these thoughts racing 1,000 miles an hour constantly in my head, and I like to think of myself as a high performer when I was younger, especially in sports. I was a very social person, very active person, like to make people laugh, like to really just be the center of attention and make sure others were feeling good about themselves. And what I've learned through all that is I never really took the time to make sure I was feeling good, to make sure I was okay. And I was pouring constantly from a cup that I never took the time to fill up myself. And I know I'm speaking a lot of cliches, but it was, from a young age, I knew that I thought if I made others feel good, then in turn I would feel good. And I kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and trying to figure out when I was going to feel good, like when I was going to be okay. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of happy times in my childhood, but there was also times that I remember that I was not in a good headspace, but I just figured if I just kept pushing through and put myself to the back of the pack, didn't prioritize how I felt, my mental health, and as I got older, my physical health, to be honest with you, I would be okay, because as long as I made others feel good, I would at some point feel good. And this, of course, led down a path of bouts with depression, bouts of anxiety in a very specific, like high functioning anxiety, where, if people know that, it's when everything looks great on the outside, everything looks, Mark's smiling, Mark's happy, Mark's still at school, Mark's still in the game, Mark's still, seems normal, but on the inside, there's a storm brewing. And it wasn't until like late 20s into my 30s where I accepted that notion that I had to treat myself as a friend, and I had to make sure I was filling that cup, either with physical health, mental health, emotional health, getting the right energy in my life, and surrounding myself with the right people, where I finally started to get to a point where, okay, now I understand that I have to prioritize myself so I can give to others rather than the other way around.
Oh man, I get that. Okay, so Mark, shall we dive into the questions now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Okay, so let me begin this one. Let's say someone asks you, "Hey, Mark, how can one cope with anxiety?" What would your response be?
Well, my response would I'd always preface it with the fact that I am not a doctor or a physician, but I just the guy who's been through exactly what that is. Like, I've been through the anxiety, and I've been through the waking up in the morning and feeling like the whole world is on your shoulders, like right when you wake up, and you have to go to school, go to practice, take care of your kids, do this, do that. Oh, I mean, it hits you from so many angles. And for someone who is just looking for kind of an answer to that question, the first thing, after I've told them what I've just said, the first thing I tell them is to understand that you are not alone. Like, and that is such a hard thing. Like, for me, saying it is one thing, but for people to believe it is another thing. It's such a hard thing for people to believe, because what, a lot of us have figured out is that what makes these emotions so difficult is that we feel we're alone on an island and no one understands us. Like, we feel we're alone on an island and we can't talk to anybody. Or if we talk to them, they'll just dismiss it. But understanding that you're not alone, and the moment, this is so difficult, the moment we decide to open up and talk to somebody, and it doesn't have to be a therapist, it doesn't have to be a doctor, it could just be a best friend, it could just be a family member, it could just be a teacher, a counselor, someone who we are putting our trust in, we're being vulnerable with. The moment we do that, and we find out that the world doesn't explode, that nothing bad happens, that we don't get shut out, that we actually start to feel better. And a person tells us, you're okay for feeling that way. Like, you're fine having these emotions. But this can't happen if we don't take that first step and actually opening up and being vulnerable. So the biggest thing to that question, and so many more, is going to be vulnerability, and how that opens up this part of life that a lot of us didn't even know existed. And I'm speaking from existence. Like, I kept so many things inside because I felt like I was going to be a burden to somebody. They could come to me and they could speak to me about anything, and they would never be a burden to me. But once I flipped that, I'm like, no, I can't talk to people about this. Like, I'm going to be a burden to them. But it's like, no, you deserve their compassion. You deserve their empathy, just like you're giving it out. So for someone going through that, the moment you realize you're not alone, and the moment you open up to others, it starts you down that path of proper headspace and feeling better about things.
That's so correct. Very, very true. Okay, let us talk about motivation a bit. Why did you stop relying on motivation?
This is a question that I love to talk about because let's be honest, like motivation is fleeting. Motivation comes and goes, and a lot of us as humans, we will see something, we'll witness something, we'll see a friend go through transformation, we'll see a movie that moves us, we'll read a book that moves us, and we'll immediately think, I'm motivated to be a better version of myself. And it won't even be that. It'll be I'm motivated to go to the gym, or I'm motivated to eat better, or I'm motivated to meditate for 30 minutes a day. And a lot of us get that motivation around, the beginning of December, and the new year is about to come, and we say, you know what, New Year's resolution, I'm going to be a better dad. I'm going to spend time with my kids. I'm going to be a better listener to my spouse. I'm going to hit the gym 5 times a week. I'm going to go walk. And boom, 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 boom. We put all this pressure on ourselves because we're motivated to do it. And motivation goes away because we'll get that meeting will pop up at work. And it's like, well, I was going to go to the gym, but I got to prepare for this. You'll be out all day. And it's like, I wanted to eat healthy, but I'm so hungry. I'm just going to get this fast food. So what I tell people about motivation is don't rely on it. Like, don't rely on it. If you're motivated, do it then and there. Because if you're motivated and you wait for it or wait later, it's gonna go away. Now, what I preach instead of that is learning discipline. And discipline is one of those things that's hard. And a lot of people will say they're disciplined. For years, I said I was disciplined. But then when you get down to it, it's like, well, no, I kind of let myself get away with too much. And listen, I'm not telling people don't have an off day, don't allow yourself some grace, don't be forgiving, like do all those things. But if you sit down on a Sunday night and you say, I'm going to walk for 30 minutes 4 times this week, do it. Like there's no other, just do it. Just do it. Find the time to do it. And if that means you have to break it up into 2 15-minute walks, if that means you have to break it up into a 10-minute walk around your office, if that means just get it done, because what you're doing is you're rewiring your brain. And so many times people will understand what I'm saying. So many times we won't want to do that workout, or we don't want to eat healthy, or we don't want to eat late at night, but we do it. And afterwards we feel terrible. But when we do that workout, or we don't eat that bad food, or we meditate for 15 minutes, afterwards, we think 2 things. And this is so evident because I've been through it. We think, 1, I'm so glad I did that. Like the endorphins pop off, you're rewiring your brain to want that more of that. And 2, you think to yourself, man, why did I put so much pressure on myself? Like that wasn't bad at all. That wasn't that difficult. When in fact, it was difficult, but you had the discipline to get through it. So that's why, motivation, listen, there's a time and a place for motivation. There's a time and a place for inspiration. But a lot of times, motivation is not on the same schedule that we're on. So that's why I kind of don't use that anymore.
Beautiful answer. I was like, what did Mark mean with meditation? But now I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second to last question. Let us get personal a bit. So how often do you work on your mental and physical health?
I work on both of them every day. And I know it sounds like a lot, and I know people might say, well, that's too much. Well, this is what I mean by that. There's 2 words that I put into my vocabulary a couple years ago that I don't do anything without these 2 words anymore. And the first one is intention, and the second one is purpose. And I understand what I've done in my past when I felt down, when I felt low, when I felt depressed. I've always had a timetable. I've always said, okay, you're going to get through this in X amount of days or X amount of weeks. Like just get through it, whatever it is. And I noticed that the time frames kept going up and up and up. It used to be a couple of days, then it used to be a week, then it used to be 2 weeks. So basically, I would be in this kind of state of limbo, just waiting for my brain to feel better without really doing anything, just waiting for life. And I noticed that I left a lot of time on the table. Like I left a lot of just empty days where I was just waiting for myself to get better. And now what I do whenever I feel like I'm in that spot where things aren't going my way, or I feel unmotivated, or I feel down, or I feel like I'm letting the world down, letting somebody else down, I think about that emotion. I sit in it and I'm intentional with it. I ask myself questions. Why do you feel that way? Who is this affecting? Does anybody really care that this is happening to you right now? Because in the past, I would think everyone in the world cared. Everyone in the world was mad at me. Everyone in the world thought I failed. And if I can't answer yes to those questions, well, no one really cares about this. Like no one really is upset with me. Oh, this is all in my head. This is all in my head. So I work through that. And the second question, or second word, is purpose. So I don't want to do anything in my life that doesn't have some type of purpose to it, even if it's mundane things like, folding laundry or doing the dishes. Like I want to make sure I'm doing this with a purpose that, okay, I'm doing these dishes. I'm showing my daughters how to be responsible individuals. I'm folding the laundry. I'm doing a chore that my family needs me to do. I'm at the gym. I'm not just here to waste time. I'm here to build muscle, to make sure I live a long and healthy life. So I work on these things constantly every day. And even days where I don't go to the gym, I'm thinking about, have I got up and moved today? Like because there'll be some days where I won't go to the gym and I'll feel, man, I'm really just lethargic right now. It's like, oh, get up and move. Get up and, and what I do a lot, and I love doing this, is if I'm working at my home office, I'll put on some loud music and I'll just start dancing to the beat for 5 to 10 minutes. And immediately the blood starts flowing, energy level goes up, smiles on my face, changes the whole complexion of the day. And that is something that in the past, I didn't do. I just sat in it. And it's like I sat in it and I lived through it. But now every day I see every day as a chance for me to better myself. That's how I look at every day now.
Beautiful. I love the last part. Beautiful. Okay. It has been a very great moment with you, show, man. And I really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm so sure the listeners do. They really enjoy it. All right. So in conclusion, man, let's say there is one piece of advice you'd like to give to the listeners. What would that be? And let's say there are some ones listening who'd like to learn more about you, reach out to you, in that process.
Yeah, so I answered the second question first. Everybody can head over to marcpaisant.com, marcpaisant.com. I just created that just as an easy way to get to all my links, my IG, Facebook, all that stuff, and LinkedIn. But I say the same thing when I answer this question about what's one thing I can tell people or give them. I say the same thing every time, and I ask them to think about everything that's important to them. Think about what is important to them in their life: their family, their friends, their job. I mean, we live in a capitalist society, so that job is important. their hobbies, make sure you're taking care of, making yourself happy. All those things that are important to you, what is the common denominator of all those things? And that's you. You're involved in all those things. And people don't think about it that way. It's like your family is your family because of you. Your career is your career because of you. Your friends are your friends because of you. So if we look at it that way, we'll start to understand that means you are important. That means you need to prioritize yourself. And becoming a better version of yourself or working on yourself daily will help you in all those other things. It doesn't work by your circle of friends becoming better makes you better, and then your job becoming better makes you better, and then your family becomes better. Like, that's not how it works. It all starts from you becoming physically fit, mentally fit, emotionally fit, fiscally fit, financially fit. All those things that you can work on, because we talk about your circle of control. You can't control your friends. You can't control what your job does. You can't control everything but you can control how you treat yourself and the things you do for yourself. And then that in turn will help everything else. So that is the bit of advice that I give everyone.
Oh man, that was a great one, I tell you. Beautiful. Okay, Mark, so that's gonna be the end of the show. Thank you for your time. Thank you for honoring the invite. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to this incredible episode. Your support means the world to us, and we truly value you. We look forward to having you join us for the next episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback is greatly appreciated.